appreciate you guys joining me for this blog review class today, and unfortunately we're not going to get a chance to review every blog post that was submitted. About 70 of you guys submitted a blog post to me or your whole blog and said, hey, can you look at this? So I tried to pick out a few that were kind of in line with the stuff that I teach at our boot camp class and then in our blogging blueprint series. I'm going to show you guys how you find those in a minute, but one of the very first posts that I got submitted to me was from TG here, and he said, hey, will you take a look at this post? And these kinds of posts, and this is a great post. I mean, if you ever want to know what absorption rate is, how to figure it out, and why it matters, this is a really solid post. Like, in terms of me giving TG feedback on what he could have done different in this type of a post, he nails it. A lot of you guys sent posts like this, and posts like this, there was another one from Jimmy Chickney, who's starting to get really active on ActiveRain. He's an agent in Vegas. There was a post about like why his kind of love-hate relationship with Zillow and maybe how consumers should be thinking about Zillow. I always think of a blog post, especially for this type of a class where I'm going to review something, in terms of how would people find this in the search engines. And so if you sent me a post that didn't kind of, that its aim wasn't to be found in the search engines, because here, look, if you Google what is an absorption rate, there is a lot of information, and in fact, Google actually gives you an answer. And so posts like these, to me, become the types of posts that we need to understand how to market to our sphere and to people that may be, connected to us somehow, maybe loosely, like they're a lead that came to our website, and this is something that we want to push out to them, maybe in one of the touches that we do with them over the months and months that they're a lead before they actually buy something. But this type of a post is maybe not designed to just find me new clients and rank in the search engines. It's a great post, okay? One of the things that I would say about this is I would, in a post like this where maybe the goal isn't to rank in the search engines, but it's going to be something I might share like in an email with someone, or it's going to be something that I might put on social media, you really have to pay attention to your headline and think, like, that headline in a lot of cases is going to be the only thing people see. And so does it give them enough to really want to dive into the post? And think about it from like your email. I mean, I get so many emails on a daily basis. Like, I open the ones that kind of resonate with me. So what the heck is an absorption rate, and how can it help you sell your house? Right? Like, that might be a little bit more powerful headline than why should I care? Because if I don't even know what an absorption rate was to begin with, like, that title doesn't give me any kind of context to what it even we're talking about. So I would get something in there related to real estate, right? And how can it help me sell my house? Something like that from the headline perspective. Again, thinking this is something that might end up in one of my leads, email. It might end up on my Facebook page, and again, it's based on the headline that people can decide to click through to this thing. So there was, again, a lot of you guys that sent posts like this. I'm going to focus on the posts that kind of followed along with the things that we teach in our boot camp class. And if you guys haven't taken our boot camp class, and I can tell that a lot of you that submitted your posts to me probably haven't spent the time to go through these boot camp classes very close or follow along very close. This is absolutely imperative. If you want to get your blog to generate leads for your business, you have to go through these classes. Like, you can come listen to me, and I'm going to break down a bunch of posts here in a minute, but the very first one, it's real obvious to me that not only did this person go through our boot camp classes, but they also followed our blueprints. And so every so often, we will do these classes where we give you a blueprint for how to write certain types of blog posts. And from the example from TG earlier, his was essentially answering a question. And we have a blueprint for how to answer your frequently asked questions with your blogs. Okay, and in each one of these classes, so we have them for market reports, we have them for local events and local businesses. If you want to write about condo complexes, we have them for that. If you want to write blog posts about neighborhoods and subdivisions, we have blueprints which essentially give you the layout. We tell you what you should talk about in there. We tell you where your calls to action should be. We tie back whatever type of post we're talking about to the strategies that we learned in the bootcamp series. So the very first post, and I use this one as an example, and this is from Steve Wilhelmy. He's in the Maple Grove area of Minnesota, and this post was actually written by Steve's assistant, Lindsay, and she sent this post kind of in a panic this morning, and I'm going to use this as the first one because this is their very first blog post on ActiveRain. And if somebody was just getting started today, this is exactly the type, actually, I don't care when you got started, but this is exactly the type of blog post that you should be writing as you get started, right? It's about a very particular place inside of their market. In this case, it's the Nottingham Palisades, which is like a subdivision inside of Maple Grove, Minnesota. And I use this post because it's obvious to me that Lindsay has, at the very least, I don't know if she's taken our boot camp classes, but at the very least, she has taken this class, or she's watched this class right here, which is essentially the blueprint for how to write a post about a neighborhood or a subdivision. And as I go through this post and look at it, I mean, she has essentially nailed it in terms of how you want to write one of these posts. So as we go through here, great title, right? The first thing I'm always looking at the title, because that's going to kind of be how somebody would search for this thing potentially and find it. Now, if somebody were to search, Nottingham Palisades, Maple Grove, like there's a chance this comes up, homes for sale in Nottingham Palisades. So she did a really good job with her title. As we get down in here then and start to look at the body of the post itself, again, she's following our blueprint, right? That first paragraph kind of becomes that flowery description of why somebody would want to live here, right? Now, very soon, and I talk about this first call to action, right? This first opportunity that we have to get somebody back to our website, and I talk about it being above the fold. Now, as we land here, realize that, a consumer landing here wouldn't see this gray bar, so the screen would be just a little bit up like this. It'd probably be in about that range, and that call to action is at least there, right? It's on the fold. I don't know that I'll call it above the fold, but it's really close and in there. And so if somebody was landing here, what they really wanted to see was the houses for sale. There's a pretty easy pathway for them to get to just see houses. And we'll see a post in a little bit, I think, where somebody actually tries to kind of get some of the housing information into the post. And what ends up happening is 2 months from now, that post becomes almost irrelevant because those houses are no longer for sale. It's different houses for sale. But what Lindsay and Steve understood is by just linking out to the houses on their website, right, they give somebody who might have found this blog post but really just wanted to see houses for sale. Now, they'll appreciate the information that Steve and Lindsay give them about Nottingham Palisades and what it's like to live there, and what's the neighborhood like, and what's going on nearby, and what schools will the kids attend, and all these things that she got into the post. But maybe they just wanted to see the houses, and so she's got this link, which is really great. And one of the things that she does in this link, which we talk about in the Blueprint series and in our boot camp classes, is the link text. The anchor text on the link matches the keyword phrase. Okay, so not only is she telling Google, hey, this is what this post is about, she's saying, look, I'm sending you to another page on the internet that is also about this same thing. And in this case, as in every case, it goes to their website. Right? Now, one of the things that she did, and I was kind of playing around with this a little bit this morning, when I go here, like 191 homes for sale, that seems like a lot for a subdivision. And so I'm like, oh my, this is either the biggest subdivision in Minnesota, or every single person in this subdivision is trying to sell their house right now, or something's not right. Like that's too many properties for this area. And so what I do is I come back here and I wonder kind of how did she get here? So it's looked like she's doing like a search in a certain zip code with a max price up to 600,000, but not really any other kind of qualifiers in here. And so when I come into the buy side of their website, like I was going to say, all right, I want to create a search just for homes in this subdivision. And look, I don't know her market very well, but I think I'm going to go into Maple Grove because she's telling me that's where it's at. Okay, I'm going to clear the price range here. But I added a feature, and Lindsay, I apologize if you're on the call here. I went into the backside of your guys' website, and I added a feature here to your search bar called subdivisions. And now what I can do is I can come in here and I can say Nottingham, and I can do a search. And what's going to happen is I'm actually going to get the 6 properties right now that are for sale in Nottingham, right, in that area that she's talking about. And this link, linking to this page right here, as opposed to the page that she linked to that was kind of, I don't know, it might have been all the houses for sale like in that one zip code, right? This link is much more impactful, because if somebody was coming in here and looking, you know, they found her blog post and they wanted homes for sale in Nottingham Palisades, to go here, the 6 homes just in Nottingham, much more powerful than sending them here, right? Which is 191 homes, and I would guess, you know, all but 6 of these are somewhere else other than in Nottingham. Okay. I might even, for just a little thing here, I might even switch it priced from low to high and use that as the link, right? So when they land here, they're not seeing I had this conversation with the guy yesterday. He had this neighborhood that had some houses like in the $400,000 range, and then it had a couple in the $1 million range. So what happened when somebody landed, when it was sorted from high to low, they see the $1 million houses right away. And if they were in that $400,000 range, it might just make them say, ugh, like, I can't afford $1 million house, I'm out of here. But when we price them low to high, right, they get the most affordable thing in that neighborhood off the bat. So call to action, she missed a little bit with where that link is going, okay, but she's got the anchor text is really good on it. And then as we continue down here, again, she's following a pattern. And the lady that I use in our examples, like when we do the boot camp class, her name's Katrina Benton, she's up in Anchorage. I use her a bunch even when we do these blueprints. This is the same formula that Katrina's following. And Lindsay, again, her very first blog post, because she's following a formula, she does a really good job, right? And then as we get down here, there's 3 reasons why people go online for real estate, okay? They go online to find houses. So she really clearly you know, kind of early in the post gives them a chance to do that, to find the houses, okay? The second reason they go online is to find property values. And I got an email 3 weeks ago from a lady named Jody Shiano. She's an agent in New Jersey. And the headline on the email, the subject line was, oh my goodness, something like this. Oh my goodness, I didn't think my blog would generate seller leads. And what happened with her is she'd written a post just like this one, right, about a real specific subdivision in her marketplace. And somebody who lived in that subdivision had gone online, they're getting ready, they're thinking about selling their house, and so the first thing they did is they went online and tried to see, like, what kind of agents out there know my neighborhood, right? Who's marketing, what real estate agents are marketing stuff in my neighborhood? And that person found Jody's blog post, and they emailed her and said, hey, it seems like you know a lot about our neighborhood, like we're getting ready to list our house, would you consider coming out and taking a look? Like, who doesn't want that email, right? So somewhere in here, if we think that, if we know that, you know, people are going online to research, like, who's most equipped to sell their house as well, and that's the second reason why people go online, is to find out what their house is worth, we want to give them an opportunity inside of this post to do that. So somewhere in here, if I was them, I would link back to this sell page on their website. What is my home worth, right? Somewhere, you know, maybe down here, right? I might say something like, you know, hey, if you currently live in this neighborhood and you're interested in finding out what your home might sell for, you know, head over to our website, give us a little bit of information, and we'll get started on doing a free CMA or free custom valuation for your home, right? So that I don't think we have that in our blueprint. The way Lindsay followed it, I'm pretty sure we didn't have that in our blueprint, but that's something that I would always be thinking about, kind of those three reasons people go online: to find houses, to get the value of their own home, and then the last one covers a lot. Okay, it's information. They go online for information, and her blog post, you know, is essentially providing you a bunch of great information about Nottingham Palisades. She also gives you a chance to get off, right, and get some like school reports, and these are located on her website, right? So we click on the school reports thing, and it brings us over here to her website and shows some of the ratings for some of the schools, right? She also gives you a chance to get community reports. So we go over here, and there's some community reports talk about income and crime and weather and all the different fun stuff that somebody might be interested in if they were going to move into the Nottingham area, right? So she's covered everything except, in this case, that ability for somebody to find out what their home is worth. This is, at the conclusion of this post then, she comes in here and gives them one last chance, because if they really got in here and started reading and wanted to know what this place was all about, at the end, then, we want to give them one last chance to say, hey, if you just read that and you think this place sounds like somewhere you'd want to live, right, here's another opportunity for you to get in there and find some houses for sale in this area, right? Again, I started with this one because this is their very first blog post, and they absolutely nail it. And I can tell they nailed it because they somehow, and if you haven't been exposed to these, I encourage you to expose yourself to these things. They found our Blogging Blueprint series, and they followed this Neighborhoods and Subdivisions blueprint to create what is really a strong, solid post, with maybe this one minor exception of linking to the right place on their own website. So good job, Lindsay. I mean, I think you really followed along. You really did a good job. So let's come in now and take a look at a couple of posts. And these are, don't get me wrong, you guys, these are some really good posts. But there's some things that we want to make sure we're doing inside of our posts to really get the most out of them. So Andrew has written about the Knoll Bakery condos. And I don't know what Churchill is. I believe, okay, so there it is. As I get into the first paragraph, Churchill is like a neighborhood in Richmond. And so what you want to do with your title of your blog post, again, you're always just remembering this is what somebody might search for that would lead them to my blog. Okay? I promise you nobody's ever going to use the words, is fast becoming a familiar Churchill address. Right? So what he's doing in his title here, I understand why he does it, right? He wants there to be some panache to that title, right? Some jazz in there, so it's not kind of this boring. Like this one, it's a little bit more boring, right? But this one is aimed at that person who might be out there searching for something that we have information about. This one gets close, right? Somebody might search the Knoll Bakery condos in Churchill or in Churchill, Richmond or something like that. So we want to try to mirror how they would search, right? Knoll Bakery condos in Churchill, Richmond. That would be what I would use for the title. So then as I get in here to his post, I was playing around on this thing, and I always kind of want to see, okay, well, where does somebody link to, right? Because the goal of our blogs should be to try to get people over to our website, right? We want to try to get them looking at listings on our website, just like Lindsay and Steve did in that last blog post that we looked at. And so I'm like, all right, awesome, Andrew, right up front, he's got this link for Knoll Bakery condos. The problem is right away he links them off to like the builder's website or the I don't know what it is, the condo association's website, or like right here, he just sent them to the enemy, essentially, right? If somebody wants to come and find Steve's blog and then head over to the Knoll Bakery condominiums and start diving into their website, like holy smokes, Steve just lost, or Andrew just lost that person. I would never, ever, ever link out to a place where other real estate agents are going to get my traffic, right? This is a huge no-no. Like Andrew hopefully has his own website where there's, currently some condos, if they're not in Knoll Bakery, at least around there, that he could display to them. Similar to how they do here, right? Where they're just linking off to some listings. So this is it's dangerous, right? Because if we get the traffic on our blog and then we send them to the condo website, right? And this one, like right away, it's saying, hey, you want some special offers, like grand opening prices? Like there's a call to action here for my consumer who I just sent to them, which I promise you is not going to get back to Andrew. Look, I don't know. Maybe Andrew has a relationship with Knoll Bakery. Maybe for all I know, he's the listing agent, and then sending them here is going to get them back to him. If that's the case, awesome. If it's not the case, like don't do this. A good friend of mine, Ben Kinney, who generates a ton of leads up in Bellingham, Washington, he built this city site that's just a bunch of great information about Bellingham. There's very little real estate information on there, but he gets other real estate agents in his market linking to his website all the time, kind of unknowingly. Right? So make sure that you're linking back to your own website. Like that's the goal. So as I continue down this post then, once I got to this point, I was like, these images are just too large. Okay, they take up the entire screen. And at this point, I started to think to myself, I don't know if there might be some pictures, so I'll scroll down, but I don't know if there's going to be like any more written information that I want to absorb about Knoll Bakery. But there actually was. And so what happens is you do these kind of big, large images or just anything that forces somebody to just scroll before they get to more great information. Like you're cutting down the chance that they're going to do that. So, again, in these blueprints, we kind of, hey, let's get one good image of the condo complex in there. If they want to see more images, maybe we give them a link down lower to say, hey, here's a place you could go look at some more images. As I looked at this website that he had linked to, I thought, you know what, there is a good opportunity maybe for him to link here, but I would never do it early in my blog post. Like the first link in your blog post should always be a link that attempts to match the keyword phrase that you used in your title, okay, and goes to your own website, which is essentially what Steve and Lindsay did here, right? First link matches their title, goes to their own website. So Andrew's title would be harder to match because he kind of put that flowery description in there, right? Had it been, Knoll Bakery condos in Churchill, Richmond, right? Then it's easier to create a link out of that. In terms of the information that he has on this page, I think he does a really fantastic job. Okay, one of the things that I would say about this portion right here, though, and one of the things that we talk about in our blueprint classes, in our boot camp classes, is the idea of evergreen. Okay, I want my posts to be evergreen, which means that the information in them is as good today as it will be a month from now, as it will be a year from now, because these posts are going to live out there essentially forever, right, for a long time. And if we put time-sensitive information in them, then we run the risk of those posts becoming obsolete as time moves on, right? And so when somebody finds this post in a year, right, this information won't be relevant anymore. These won't be the most recent sold properties. If he wanted to do something like this, what I would do is I would create a separate blog post that was just, Knoll Bakery condos that have recently sold, right? And then from this post, I would link to that post. So this paragraph would say something like, if you'd like to see what's recently sold in the Knoll Bakery condos, check out my blog post where I update and keep, the recent sales. And then that post could be something that you could just update. And he might do that for, all of the condos in this little neighborhood, right, in Churchill. And so if he had condo, because think about it, he's not just going to write about an old bakery condos, right? He's going to write about 7 of the complexes that are in this area, in this little neighborhood. And so if he had one page that just kind of kept the updated sales, right, this type of a thing, then he could always just link out to that from his other 7 posts. He wouldn't have to come back into each post and go, okay, something new sold here, let me get it updated, right? Because a year from now, it's going to become very unruly. So always think about these posts when you're writing about the condo complexes, the subdivisions, the very specific things. We're going to see one in a second that I really like. But think about how you can keep these things evergreen. You can keep them timeless. Okay? One of the things that I like that he did, and again, as I move down here, these pictures, they're good pictures, right? I mean, but they're too big, right? So let's get them sized in there a little bit more kind of in line with just how people scroll down, how they search. But we don't ever want to have just like an entire block of picture, because we always want them to know, hey, there's more great information here that you could be reading about. One of the things I love that he did is he put himself in here, right? Like he's not just this person who put together some information about the Knoll Bakery condos. Like he's been there, okay? And this idea that he inserted himself into the content, I think is really powerful when you think about like who reads this. Like who would actually get to this point in his blog? It would be somebody that was pretty darn interested in this place, right? And so for him to insert himself into the content a little bit, positions himself as the expert on this place, right? He's not just some guy writing about it. He's some guy that's been there. He's some real estate agent that's been on the scene at this place. I love that portion of his post here. The information in here is top-notch, okay? The formatting of it, the layout, the title, the links, these things definitely have room for improvement. Now, the great thing about every blog post we've ever written is we can always go back and update them. Okay? One of the things that for me is kind of a first checkpoint, just to make sure, and hopefully everybody on the call has this accomplished, is I come over here. There's this page on Google. This is it, right? Google.com/webmaster/tools/rich-snippets, where I can see if somebody has Google authorship set up. So what I do is I just throw in the URL of their blog post, and I can see, okay, Andrew does have Google authorship set up for his page. Fantastic. The next thing I'd want to see then is Andrew actually sharing his content on Google+, because that'll give it a little bit of a boost. That'll make the search engines recognize it a little bit faster. It'll just give it a tiny little boost in the search engine. So as I come back here and I kind of look through, he's sharing a bunch of great stuff about real estate, but I don't see him having shared his blog post in here. Okay? So, one of the classes in our boot camp series is about sharing, or about what to do with that post after you've written it, right? We call it post and pray, or hopefully you don't just post and pray. And essentially, I think what Andrew's done here is he's posted and he's prayed people are going to find it online. He hasn't taken some of those extra steps to make sure that we get it out there, especially with Google+ as it relates to search engines, or Google's search engine anyway. Okay, I think if Andrew was to come back and look at our condo complex blueprint, he could turn this post into just a really awesome piece of content, because the content itself, right, the written stuff, is already there. Now it's just formatting, it's just really focusing on his title, it's making sure that he has a link in there that's a call to action back to him, right, that gives him a chance to generate leads. All right, so Carrie sent me this one, and I always kind of like to look in and see, like, in the context of what she wrote, like how first off, she's pretty new, it looks like, right? She's only started blogging here in the last month. And so Lake Point Estates, right? She's getting it. Okay, golf course homes for sale in Kissimmee. That's a great piece right there, right? It's a very specific type of home in a more general geography. We talk about that in our second boot camp class where we talk about keyword phrases and how to put these things together. And I can tell she's taken that class. The reason I can tell that is because one of the things I talk about in that class is writing about, you know, homes for sale in an area near something big, right? So in the market I'm most familiar with, Seattle, I know people are doing searches like condos for sale on Queen Anne near Amazon, condos for sale on Capitol Hill near Amazon, condos for sale South Lake Union near Amazon, right? Because Amazon just, well, not just now, it's been about a year and a half or something, moved their whole operation into downtown Seattle and South Lake Union. They moved 50,000 employees down there. And a ton of them are looking for homes around the place they work, right? So she's obviously taken that class. So let's go in and look at her post, homes for sale in Lake Nona near the USTA training facility. And as we get in here, the first thing she has is kind of this ability for you to do the search. Now, because I'm not sure what she did with the formatting here, but it's not obvious this is a link. So what I might do is I might highlight this portion of the link, and I might use the color, like you can change the color on ActiveRain. I might make it a little bit darker blue so that it was really obvious that this was a link. The other thing I would do is I would make the link out of the whole phrase, because again, we want that anchor text link, that first link in our post, the one that's going to send them to look for houses like the ones we're talking about in our blog, needs to match the wording from our title, right? So we want that whole thing to be a link. I guess it kind of looks like the whole thing might be a link, but if somebody rolled their cursor here, they wouldn't really know that, oops, over here is the link. Okay, just a small little thing there. Now, as you get in and you start reading this, this becomes an even better post for me, at least, because this hasn't been built yet. Okay, the USTA tennis training facility is something that's on the horizon in her community. And I'll bet, again, I don't know Lake Nona. I've never been there. Where I'm assuming it's in Florida. It's in Central Florida. I bet this is a really big deal there, right? Like this is going to bring a bunch of jobs there. It's going to bring a bunch of money there. It's going to bring, you know, people come in to watch these tournaments I'm sure they're going to have there. Like this is a big deal in their area. And when it gets open, people are going to start moving here because they're going to be working here. And it's not going to be a shock that people are going to be looking for homes for sale near the USTA tennis training facility. Okay? So just the why she wrote this post, she nailed it. Like I love that about this post, right? It's homes for sale in her area near something important to the people that live there or that want to live there, right? So some of the other things I see people doing this with is like big hospitals, right? Or big military bases. I had a guy who wrote all these posts about homes for sale in Steilacoom near Joint Base Lewis McChord, homes for sale in Lakewood near Joint Base Lewis McChord, right? Because he realized as people are moving to be stationed at the base, they may be looking for a home for sale, you know, in one of these towns near the base. All right, so one of the things that I always like to try to do, I didn't do these on the other posts, is let's see how many times they use their keyword phrase. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I hit Control or Command F, depending on what kind of a computer you have, and I get this little find box that comes up here, and then I can just paste in, and I can see that 3 times she used this phrase, homes for sale in Lake Nona. And so let's see where, so it's here. So 1, 2. So in the body of the post itself, she only used her keyword phrase twice. Well, once actually. She used it in the title, and then in the body, it's only used here. So she'd want to try in here to work in a couple more usages of that. And a great place to do it is at the end, right? Basically kind of summarizing what they just read about. Now she's got a lot of stuff down here for links. It's almost too much. Okay? Every outbound link that you send out of your blog post takes away power from the other links in that blog post. So if I have, let's say my blog is able to transfer, 100% of the SEO. And this is it's just a really dummy explanation of this, but so if I have one link, essentially that link gets the, and I link it to my website, like she does here at the top, right? And as we look at this, it's going to be, some homes in this area. One of the things that I might suggest that you do, Carrie, is as I switch to the map view here, my guess is that you're looking at a really, really broad range of stuff in this area. What you could do is maybe zoom in just a little bit on this so you're getting a look that's a little bit closer. And as we move this map around here, maybe that's a little bit more in line with being near the USTA. Then when we switch back to the list view here, we get this link that gives us just homes in that area of the map. Again, I would probably price it the other direction just to let people know, hey, there's some affordable stuff here, right? It's not just when they land there, they're going to see, oh my goodness, like I can't afford a $5 million house. So really think about, like, where am I landing them? What do they see when they land there? Because that could be the difference between them digging into your website and going, oh, I'm out of here because I don't have $5 million bucks. Okay, back to, so this link, if there was no other links, would be passing 100% of the link juice out of this blog post back to her website. The problem is she goes in here now and she has, 15 or 20 other links, which essentially means that each one of the links is passing 5% of the power out to the places she's linking to, right? Now, your world isn't entirely revolving around Google, right? We want to do the things that are right because a real person might find this, and some of these might be important for them, right? It might be important for them to know that it's, near the medical city, or it might be important to know that it's, home to some of the nation's top hospitals, but I would just be careful with too many of these outbound links as opportunities for people to kind of lose themselves and not do what you wanted them to do, which is, find a house, get their home's value, get a color brochure. Like, those are all good calls to actions. These other ones in here, there might be a little bit too much in there driving them away from you. I did some Google searches on this, and this thing, if somebody was looking for a home for sale in Lake Nona near the USTA Training Center, they're going to find her blog post. Okay, so she does a really good job in here. I would say just be careful with those links, and then look for that other opportunity to maybe get your keyword phrase in there 1 or 2 more times. All right, so Debbie sent me this post, and the very first thing that I see in this post is the title. And again, it's just like as we went back to the one on Knoll Bakery, the condo complex post. I understand why she uses this title, but it's not the right thing to do, especially the way she does it, where the front of the title is the most important part as Google indexes this post to see what it's about, right? she's telling them it's the Spotlight Community of the Week, first and foremost, right? Secondarily, they see it's about PGA Verano, but that kind of flowery description is limiting her, right? She wants this post to just be, you know, the homes at PGA Verano in Port St. Lucie. Okay, look, when she sends this out in an email, she could say Spotlight Community of the Week, PGA Verano. When she posted on her Facebook business page, she could say Spotlight Community of the Week, PGA Verano. But when she's exposing it to Google, they don't, you know, they're not that concerned about that other kind of flowery stuff because consumers don't search Spotlight Community of the Week. Now, given what her title is, she does a good job in here of, let's just see, again, I just want to check real quick. So 5 times she's got PGA Verano in here. See, but I would want her to have, like, let's say she changed her title to Homes in PGA Verano, Port St. Lucie. Then she would need to have the phrase Homes in PGA Verano, Port St. Lucie in this post 3 to 5 times. Okay? Right away, like, so I start rolling down here. Let me do this. We got a little bit of extra time. I expected to be a little bit closer to the end. I hope Debbie doesn't mind. I'm going to log in here as Debbie, and I'm going to format this post just maybe a little bit better because she's got that same thing that was happening with Knoll Bakery where, you know, when I land here as a consumer, like, I like the picture, but I want to know that there's going to be some info on this page as well. And so if I come in here and I edit this thing, and hopefully this is going to work for me because so I'm going to put some vertical and horizontal space on this just to make sure there's a lot of good white space around the edges of this image. See what I did there, you guys? I took that image and I aligned it to the right. And when you do that, what happens is now the text wraps around the left-hand side of the image. And now when somebody lands here, another thing we can do is I can take all this content that's on the left and I can align it full. And so when I come in here, or justify it. I'm going to say justify. That's going to justify this. So I have a nice clean edge here. We see that 20 pixels of white space in here now. If we wanted to give that a little bit more white space, maybe I come in here and say, you know what, let me do 30. Let's just really set that picture off from the rest of the content. Boom, now we see it, you know, that even bigger white space in there. Now let's go back and publish this. And what we see now is when somebody lands on this post, right away they're kind of drawn into the post. The information is there, the image is there in a little bit, you know, more ruly fashion, right? Now what I want to be thinking about is, okay, again, if a consumer was here because they wouldn't see this gray bar that we all see when we're logged in, it's going to be about this much of the page that they see. So she's got a link in there. Good, right? She's got that call to action. Now, had she done PGA Verano Homes for Sale in Port St. Lucie as her title, then her anchor text on her link here would have matched that title. Awesome. It doesn't right now because her title's just a little bit off, right? Okay, as we come down here, let's talk homes, right? This is another one of those things where if we don't do the right things, we run the risk of making our blog post obsolete some period of time down the road. In this case, you know, a month from now, there's not going to be 10. Might be 15, there might be 5. right? I understand what she's doing here. She's trying to say, hey guys, there's homes and you can find them over here, right? Think about how you can do that in a manner that makes sure you never have to come back to this post again and feel like, oh, it's outdated. I need to update it. I want you guys to think about this. In each one of these scenarios, and the Noel Bakery guy, I think, maybe does the best job of this. I'm sorry, I keep calling him Noel Bakery guy. Andrew. Andrew does the best job of this, I think. I want you to really think about, like, if a real person reads this, are they going to walk away just thinking, man, this person has given me every piece of detail about this place that I would ever want to know about? And in our blueprint series, right, as we come back to the one that the person that followed it, right, we got why do people live here, right? And I'll bet as Lindsay sits here and thinks about this, she probably could have put some more stuff in here, right? And so these blog posts may not always just be done, right? Because here's what happens is later, as Lindsay writes her 15th blog post, she thinks to herself, gosh, you know what? It'd be a really good idea if I used one of these sections and I talked about, you know, some of the big employers that were nearby. And then she thinks to herself, gosh, you know what? I want to do that for all of these things. And then she comes back and she just add another paragraph in each one of them that says, you know, some of the nearby major employers. And she might talk about Amazon being nearby or Microsoft being only a 20-minute drive across the bridge, or, you know, Google's new office in Seattle being a 15-minute walk from this subdivision or this condo complex. So when you use a formulated approach to these things, what happens is you get the same information every time. Now, look, it's possible that Debbie inside of this is using a formulated approach, and if I was to look at another one of her posts, the paragraphs would all kind of align with each other, and she would have the flowery description, and then, you know, the part talking about the houses, and then she would have the part talking about kind of what's nearby. In this case, she's really highlighting the golf course here, but like, what about if somebody's, you know, has kids and they're interested in the school information, or what about if somebody wants to know, like, what are the demographics in this area? What if somebody wants to know, like, what's conveniently located? I know for me, the last time I moved, it was really important that we be, like, conveniently located, just stuff that was easy to walk to. So, like, if you're talking about a condo complex, maybe it's I give them the walk score and I tell them, like, what's nearby in walking distance. Like, really think about, like, if you were going to take somebody out to this place, right? I got them in my car, I'm driving down the road. What do they want to know about it? Like, did I get everything in there? And you might say to yourself, got it, nailed it. This is a totally and complete kind of view of the PGA Verano neighborhood. But 2 months from now, you might think, oh my goodness, like, here's a really good thing I could be adding into my blog post, and I could do this for each one of them, right? You want to be able to go back, and if you had a formula that you were following, you'll know you didn't have that before, and you can get it added in there. All right, let's do this. So I want to, there's a bunch of questions in here. So Larry says, doesn't the title alias stand in for the title in terms of SEO? Is it possible Andrew's alias was a little more pointed to keywords and phrases? Let's get back to Andrew's post here. Larry, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure what you mean by that, other than, look, the title is literally the most important piece of any one of our blog posts. Okay, it becomes like, look, when I run my cursor over this part of my browser, see how it pops up there and it says Noel Bakery Condos is fast becoming a familiar Churchill address. That is the title tag on this page. The very first thing that a search engine looks at when their spider finds this thing, the very first thing they look at is this title tag. Fast becoming a familiar Churchill address they're just extra words in there that detract from what we're really trying to focus on, which is Noel Bakery Condos in Churchill, Richmond. if you're ever going, like, let's say you go, you know what, this guy's full of it. Like, I like the flower description. I got to have it in there. Fine. Put it at the end. No bakery condos in Churchill, Richmond, fast becoming popular neighborhood, or fast becoming popular complex, something like that. It's not optimal, but it's more optimal than having it kind of jumbled in there with our main keyword phrase, which is Noble Bakery condos down, you know, Churchill, Richmond. So Leslie says, can you clarify on the location-based posts, like homes for sale near Disneyland in Anaheim or homes for sale in Anaheim near Disneyland? So it used to be a year ago, year and a half, 2 years ago, that there was some difference in what a search engine would return, Leslie, based on the order of your keywords. And so a long time ago, we used to say, look, like you might consider doing a post like homes for sale in Anaheim near Disneyland. And then, you know, 6 months later, you might consider doing a post homes for sale near Disneyland in Anaheim, right, where you've switched Disneyland and Anaheim. Google did an update not too long ago called Hummingbird. And Hummingbird had nothing to do with what we do on our end. It was all about what Google does on their end. And today, if you were to search homes for sale near Disneyland in Anaheim, you would get exactly the same or very, very close to the same results if it was homes for sale in Anaheim near Disneyland, just switching those words. So one's not better than the other. Not doing it is worse than either one of the options you would pick if you do it. So don't get too bogged down in like the order of the words, or because Google's going to look out there and just give them the best results kind of based on the entirety of the phrase with less kind of spotlight on the order of those words in there based on Hummingbird. Deborah's asking me for titles for her blog post, like what would be a good title? Yeah, golf homes in PGA Verano, you know, golf homes for sale in PGA Verano, Port St. Lucie. Could be something like that, Debbie. Yeah, I mean, Dennis, you're absolutely right. Like, as Dennis says, you know, as casual as you just did that adjustment, it was powerful, absolutely powerful. Because, guys, think about we really, at least I do. I focus a lot on just the search engine side of this stuff, but the reality of it is the search engines aren't going to get you the lead. Right? What's going to get you the lead is when somebody lands here, what does it look like? What is the layout? How easy is it for them to access the information they might have wanted? Right? And so that little adjustment where the picture now got wrapped around the text, and as we land there, our eyes are kind of drawn into the image. It's spaced right. It's formatted right. It makes us want to just start scrolling down the page and reading this thing. Yeah, it was a minor adjustment to that post, or as he said, casual, but yeah, it absolutely can make a big difference. And that's why, especially if you guys are just getting started, like Lindsay and Steve were here, I can't stress enough how important these blueprints are. I mean, even for things like local events, right? I see a lot of people in our Inspiration Station, we focus a lot on local events because they get a lot of traffic. But there's things you can even do inside of those to make them a little bit better, to give the information people want. Maybe to leave them wanting just a little bit more, right? And that's what, there's kind of this fine balance in all of our posts, but especially the ones that relate to our real estate business, right? The market report types of posts. When we blog about our listings, a lot of you guys are probably blogging about your listings. We've got a blueprint series that we do that tells you, like, here's what you should do when you blog about your listings. Because you might not want to give them every single piece of information, right? You might want to try to drive them to your website if they want to see more images. I see a lot of people who blog their listings and they want to try to get, like, 12 images in there. I understand why, right? But I also think that 2 images would probably be enough to get them to want to see more images, which you could deliver to them on your website in a place that you could potentially capture them as a prospect for your business, right? And so in each one of these blueprint series, we really kind of break down even things like formatting, like Dennis just said, that those casual little changes that can really make a big impact, right? Lindsay and Steve, they didn't have to think about this formatting. The blueprint did it for them. So Jim says, does posting the same blog content under a colleague's name help or hurt your SEO ranking? In theory, would it double the chances of leads coming to your website? No, it wouldn't. In fact, it would probably hurt you. So duplicate content is something that always comes up, right? This idea of putting my stuff in more than one place. And what I always say to that is it's okay to do it, but it's only okay to do it as you. The main thing you would want to do is make sure you have Google authorship set up in all of those locations, Jim, and you would never want to set your Google authorship up for somebody else's name. I don't even think you could. And so what would happen is if you put it on somebody else's blog, when Google sees it out there in two places, and hopefully you have your authorship set up, so they're going to see you as the author, that other guy they're going to see as having plagiarized you. They're probably going to, once they figure it out, for a little bit it might work. Once they figure it out, they're going to completely wipe him out of the search engines. I don't necessarily know what they'll do to you. Right? I promise you this, it's not going to help you. It might hurt you. I don't know. It's definitely going to hurt him. Like, it's not going to help him at all, or her. Paula says, is it important to have the same title in the meta title? So, yes, but let's get back here. So on an ActiveRain blog post, Google's gotten very interesting with their meta descriptions. And, you know, meta descriptions used to matter more for SEO. Today, it's another one of these things where they're not going to help you as much as they could just potentially hurt you. And so, like, on an ActiveRain blog post, the meta description comes out of about this first portion of the post. It's some number of characters, I don't know, 160, 140, somewhere in that range. So one of the things we talk about in boot camp, in the very first SEO class that we do in boot camp, is you want to restate your title somewhere in that first 140 to 160 characters of your blog post. That gets your keywords into the meta description. Now, on a WordPress blog, you can actually manipulate the meta description, right? And you can tell Google what it is. Now, the way you can hurt yourself with that is you can think that you're tricky, and you can try to get a bunch of other keyword phrases in there that aren't related to the one that you're trying to rank for. And if you start to do that, it'll hurt you. You know, if your meta description doesn't perfectly 100% match your title, like you're okay. Right? For me to say anything in absolutes as it relates to Google is a little bit nutty because none of us really know, right? It's kind of based on our experience, and we've been doing this for, I don't know, 12 years now. Right? My experience tells me that a meta description that has your keywords in it is better than one that either doesn't or that tries to get a bunch of other keywords in there because you think, ooh, I'm really going to amp this post up. I'm going to put a bunch of other neighborhoods that are nearby, and I'm going to, like, that stuff will just hurt you. Keith says, where is the page that is being shown right now? How do I find it? I think he meant this page. And so you're going to find that at activerain.trulia.com/blogging-blueprint. Now Keith says, never mind, he saw the URL. But that's where you guys can find this. What we'll do is, I think Carrie's she's generally on the ball with this kind of thing. No, so maybe Carrie, here, I'll do it right now. http://activerain.trulia.com/blogging-blueprint. So there, I just sent in the in the chat area out to you guys that link for the blogging blueprints. Look, you obviously you're here. I apologize if I didn't get a chance to review your post. We're kind of at the end of the hour now. These blueprints will just help you immensely. Like Lindsay didn't have to, Lindsay and Steve here, they didn't have to kind of swim their way to a successful blog post. Like they had it kind of delivered to them. All they had to do was come up with the information for their areas. Okay, I hope you guys learned a little bit from that. From obviously Lindsay's on this call. Like I see Debbie, she's been talking to me. She's on this call. But a lot of you guys that are on this call, I didn't get a chance to review your post, but hopefully having me look at somebody else's post and just kind of showing you some of the things they're doing that are good, some of the things they're doing that need to be kind of cleaned up a little bit, gives you a little bit better idea of how you want to approach these things. And again, and I'll just beat this to death, you can find out how to do these things on our blueprint series here. Ooh, big breath. We just went an hour and 4 minutes. All right, if you guys still have questions, here's what you can do. Go to our Facebook page, facebook.com/ActiveRain. Ask me your question on our Facebook page. Just come right down here. Write your question right there. I'll come in and answer it. And we'll be off and running. You guys, thanks for joining me. It's a short week here. You're getting towards the end of it. Hope you guys have an awesome finish to your week, a great weekend in real estate. On behalf of Alicia and Carrie, who are always behind the scenes. We didn't have any technical issues today, so we didn't get to hear Carrie's lovely voice. My name is Bob Stewart. Bye-bye, everybody.